We return with the ESL Challenger League Season 46. Asian action will continue as it will all week long. We've got some fantastic CS for you today and in the days to come with more and more Asia CS with IEM Sydney qualifiers and the like. And we're going to be taking you through all of it. I'm Tea Time, joined by Michael Yumi Cassidy. Michael, how you doing?
Yeah, doing good. You know, compared to yesterday, I'm feeling a lot more elated, a lot more alive, I think, in general, because we're getting back into the swing of things. You know, we're getting week to week in this ESL Challenger League season, and we have the treat of watching not only yesterday's teams in one of the squads in Lin Vision that have been champions throughout many a season so far, but now we hone in today on another team that have also been very successful in the ESL Challenger League.
Well, listen, it's champions every day, and right now, sure, some of these champions might be unfamiliar as far as the team names is concerned. For those of you guys who weren't up to date, the former Rare Atom Squadron has now united underneath the banner and star of 5yclone. We are not sure if that's how it's pronounced exactly, but we're like 95% sure with that one. Michael did suggest 5yclone, and I feel like, the morality of cloning is hardly something that we should be bringing into Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I mean, the justification of that is, 5 in Mandarin is woo, and then, if you're just gonna sort of interpolate into I-clone, Y-clone. But yes, the same core, the same 5, the same leadership that really fostered a lot of these players up in the 5yclone roster are still going to be in the server. This is a team that have been able to win many seasons prior. They won our inaugural season of the ESL Challenger League Asia in Season 40. They followed that up in Season 41. And then as well in Season 45 as well, which is how they get to ESL Pro League, which will be happening in a few weeks' time for them because they find themselves in Group C. So it's a lot about repetitions. We were kind of talking about that with the Lin Vision game as well. 5yclone want to get more repetitions under their belt as well. They've been a giant within the Asia region for quite some time, but they have not always had the greatest success transferring that over into international waters. And so, there's just the added confidence boost. This ATOX team does seem like it has the potential to be quite a threatening squad in the future, and so there's always that chance for a bit of an underdog story perhaps as well.
And listen, as far as ATOX is considered, ATOX, coming through the second best Mongolian team, formerly your option. We already discussed them a lot yesterday, but in case you weren't able to tune in for the matchup versus Lin Vision, they didn't have a very good time on their own map pick, and actually did bring a solid fight out on Inferno as well, a map that we, potentially could see featured again later on today. Funnily enough, ATOX is one of the few teams, however, who has dethroned 5yclone recently. They, of course, were playing up against them a couple of months ago, I believe in June or July for the Perfect World, where they actually beat them 2-1. So, hey, maybe there is a chance over there. I will add the caveat that was at a time where, 5yclone was still called Rare Atom. There's probably some organizational issues going on over there. They're probably still demoralized about the major. All of those caveats come in. So, don't assume that ATOX are favorites, but hey, at least, they've got a shot in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, that was also the same tournament that ATOX beat Lin Vision as well, and they weren't able to replicate that here in the ESL Challenger League. So yeah, the fact that time has passed since then is always going to be a bit of a worry for this ATOX squad that seemed in certain moments in that Lin Vision game that, they just felt like they were really panicky and having to go with some crazy risks to sometimes win rounds, especially on T sides. I feel like that's really been at the heart of the issue, is that when they've gotten into these second halves, even though I think they actually had a good start to their T side on Ancient, their second halves, they're actually struggling to sort of remain composed against these top teams so far.
Well, listen, as far as the veto is concerned, Michael, that's obviously something which I'm particularly curious about. But obviously, I've already seen the veto results, and it's not quite what I predicted. I thought after the basic permabans of Vertigo and Anubis, I thought that this would be Ancient being picked by ATOX, but actually Overpass being played in by 5yclone. They instead lent into their Nuke, a map that they're very good on. But I was under the assumption that they might want to let Inferno be banned out and play Nuke as a decider instead, play Overpass more as a punish pick. But yeah, this one is definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those things as well where at a certain period of time, the 5yclone guys were actually banning Mirage pretty heavily. So the fact that they kind of let that in and they kind of call the bluff of ATOX, who just simply don't feel like playing that map, is kind of interesting. But, there's a lot of map crossover at the very least for this particular game. I think the one worry I might have is that there is another Mongolian team that have faced off against this 5yclone squad already in the ESL Challenger League, and they got 16-1'd on Inferno. So if we do end up down that distance, I do worry, because even when they were previously called Rare Atom, that was the map that we were constantly looking at as being, this is actually internationally ready. You know, that was the one map that both Rare Atom and the Mongols were practicing like to high hell to make sure that they were ready to face off against some of these international teams.
It's also a map where we've seen some of the best highlights where Kaze, especially his performances, can be a little bit lackluster, I think, on other maps as far as being a star opera is concerned. He'll hit his shots, he'll be really good, he'll hit the solid, 20 frag mark, but it's very rare that you see him actually pop through the 30 bomb, except for on Inferno in particular. He's just so damn good on it. And when you contrast that with Coolest on the other side, who I have to say was somewhat struggling to keep up in terms of numbers with the rest of his team at times. He had some good moments, but wasn't necessarily always the player you'd hope for. This will be interesting just to see that 1v1 duel coming in between the two operas.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it feels like they've got two styles of AWPer on this ATOX squad in just different players. Yami hyper aggressive with the way that we saw him go for a quad entry on the AWP on Ancient, and we never really saw those aggressive maneuvers happening from Coolest. The successes we saw from him were actually just, playing positions, pivoting, and just being able to hit kind of shot after shot on one angle instead of really taking space. So yeah, it'll be curious to see who actually wields it predominantly for this ATOX squad coming into this matchup, because they might actually need a few elements of that aggression, but maybe a cooler head in Coolest in certain moments, because Kaze is one of those sort of hyper-dynamic AWPers within the region.
I'm glad you mentioned Ancient, though, because that's going to be a really important talking point about whether or not we can even get to Inferno. We don't want to be counting any chickens before they hatch. ATOX struggled against Linvision yesterday on Ancient. That second half saw them collecting only a single round on the CT side, if I remember correctly. Couldn't have been more than 2 at most. And even when they played up against Rare Atom the last time in the match that they won overall, it was a 16-3, right? So this isn't exactly an inspiring start to the season for them, an inspiring map pick for them as far as that's concerned. They have stuck to their guns, sure, that's all fine and well, but I don't actually know whether they've got what it takes to overcome Rare Atom.
Yeah, I think it's the main issue that we'll have with ATOX is, it's still relatively early in their journey. There was the player break we had to bear into consideration. There was also the fact that they were still formulating and building this roster over the past couple of months. So the fact that they've stuck with this 5 for a couple of months is good, but they need more experience to really be able to refine all the protocols, what they do, who takes over these late game leadership roles as well, because it's not just like we were talking about yesterday. It's not just about the in-game leader. It's about who sort of acts as a captain to this squad and actually reels them in when things get a little bit hectic, because they've got young guys on this team that are not going to be used to playing up against the likes of a 5yclone or a Linvision. And in terms of, when we get deeper and deeper into these games, they're going to come out with, a pocket strategy, or they're going to do something so incredibly thought out in terms of just hyper patience plays, good executes. You need to have a way to address that if you're ATOX moving forward. They're still early in their road, but unfortunately for them, early in the road doesn't always sort of bail you out. Unfortunately for them, they've had to face off against 2 of the champions back-to-back days.
And one of the players that we have to obviously keep in mind when we're talking about young players is Mick, who is going by the name of Cobra Zera, letting you guys know beforehand. Don't get confused between the kill feed and the hunt. That's just one of those things. We've migrated to face it. There's problems we sometimes have to deal with. But the point is, Mick didn't have a great showing yesterday, and he's a player who I always thought showed a lot of promise on renewal along with Rooks when he was combining forces over there. But unfortunately, the rifling presence hasn't really actually come through when he's being put more on an island and he's not being given a tag team partner in the same way, right? You've got Yami, Dobu players who really are willing and want to make their own plays and at their own pace, where, in the past it felt like Mick did have more of a dedicated tag team that he could go with. He struggled versus Lin yesterday, and this would be his time to sort of show that he's learned from that, especially on Ancient.
Yeah, the big surprise was actually the man of consistency in Cabal, really, for the ATOX squad. The guy that is the oldest, had a bit of a hiatus coming into this year as well, but also has quite a lot of experience under his belt. This guy was fragging hard for ATOX when they really needed that extra firepower. You're just talking about some of the limitations of not having Mick potentially perform as well as he did at the start of this year, for example. But if Cabal is fragging as hard as that, maybe it's not even all that necessary. But, having that added depth will go a long way against some of these top teams.
Oh, absolutely, because when you're looking over towards Cyclone, one they've got, other than Advent, every single one of these guys is a beast, right? We've talked about Kanzi a little bit, but Mercury and Mosaic have been on the tip of our tongues, Michael. I'm sure that anyone who's been watching us for a while can vouch for it as well. They've been on the tip of our tongues for a very long time. Mosaic is looking more and more impressive in international performances, while domestically Mercury does seem to shine. Jamyang is just the OG Chinese superstar rifler that came outside of Tai Lu, and he continues to be just that. And Advent, say what you want about him in pressure situations and how he can sometimes choke out some calls. He can sometimes be a real problem for this team, especially the RMRs historically. He's also given them so many great wins, so much good structure, and so many international moments as well where, Cyclone has come through and got an upset BO3 win over a team like, over a team in the bottom of the top 10. And Cyclone has taken maps off of Na'Vi. They've been able to have performances like that very heavily off the back of his calling.
Yeah, it's also funny as well because, we're talking about all these players, you're kind of highlighting the fact that Kaze, Jamyang were the two main men that we had to talk about for the longest period of time, and then we had the addition of those younger talents in Mosaic and Mercury that were, from what we understand, scouted from just pugs, just playing the online circuit, which is a great way for players to get engaged as part of the merging of the Faceit platform and ESEA, as well as we actually just have that all-in-one spot for a lot of the European and North American divisions. But over in Asia, it is a different platform, and they just scouted them out. They've been able to facilitate them, and this being their only real test in terms of proper professional competition, they've done exceptionally well with the limited amount of time that both Mercury and Mosaic have had on this roster. There was a bit of back and forth about like who was the star out of the two players, but you can have games sometimes where they both pop off. And those are the four players: Kaze, Jamyang, Mosaic, Mercury. They can all have these great showings, but once every 15 games, you'll have a map from Advent where he actually can just take over himself. Like, he'll have such good calls, and he often will put himself involved in these sort of more gambly calls or these decisions that are based off of nothing but intuition, and he'll put himself there and he'll get the kills instead. So it is a scary team, especially when we had those younger guys come in. It felt like the firepower depth only got even deeper, and that's what's led to such great successes for this core.
And it gets even scarier, Michael, when we think about it. We're talking about how, oh yeah, these guys are the newer entrants, whatever. Mercury and Mosaic have been in this team for now a year and 8-9 months. I think they joined at the very beginning of last year. That's when we sort of saw them get into the team.
I think Mosaic joined he joined almost a year, I think a year ahead of Mercury.
No. It wasn't that much. It was like 2 months or something. I think these two teams. I'm gonna actually check that one out really quickly. But the point still is that these guys have been together now for so long that you've got all of the power of, hey, it's fantastic. Also, I did just check. It is they were all on the same squad at pretty much the same time on Rare Atom. I think before, like in Vici, might have been something, but all 5 of these players have been together for more than a year and a half at this point, right? And that's just so much structure, so many pocket strats, so much good communication coming out between all of these players, so much that you have to deal with that. As one of the ATOX, Mongols, whoever you say, there is no team that has had this consistency of lineup in so long in Asia. How do you contend with this?
Yeah, and I think as well, even before they made that move to bring in these newer players, they were just able to be the most consistent team in the region for the longest time, even prior to getting prospects. That's one of the crazy things about this, and that's really kind of a testament as well to the longevity that Advent has shown as an in-game leader for this team, is that they overtook Tai Lu, and they've been able to stay there for the longest period, even though most people, when they think about the Asia region, they look back at previous majors and think, oh, Tai Lu, they must be still at the top of the scene. No, that hasn't been the case for the past 3, maybe even it's sort of coming up on its 4th year now.
Yeah, and look, Mongols do take a lot of shine away, but 5yclone has always been that sort of sleeper pick for all of the people who are watching Asian CS. Like, oh my god, when they really stop choking at RMRs, they're going to be so damn good at the major. I'm telling you, they're going to make top 16. Now, obviously, that unfortunately never came. But one thing that will be coming is the beginning of this game. Unfortunately, as you can see on your screen, T-side players are dying and then living and then dying and then living all over again. I think we might have to take a short break, but we're going to be back very soon. Don't go anywhere. Well, we're starting off giving Mick a bit of a handicap. He's -5 and 5 deaths. That's not really a great way to be beginning things, but hey, it is life, and we are going to be getting into it regardless. Yami to take first point of contact. Mercury on the other side is never really shied away from a duel that he hasn't been forced away from.
Yeah, very passive hold from 5yclone all in all, and they're really trying to get an idea of where ATOX are actually trying to attack. Headshot onto Jamyoung into middle as well. He might have found a timing, but Cabal able to turn around on him, and now they're just postured up for this explosion. But look at the counter reaction. A push down ramp, Dobu dealt with, and Advent, even though he got gushed, he's still a threat. Thank goodness Yami's there to cover that bomb plant, but they don't actually get those digits dialed in just yet. They're finding the kills and prioritizing instead. 2-on-2. Jamyoung with that low HP is in a really tumultuous spot. Yami does one more bullet straight to the dome, and Yami will full ace the pistol to bring this one home for ATOX.
God, I mean, just look at this man go. Yami taking full control after yesterday. He knows that he needs to get a lot more done on the T side, but he has so much more agency, and it really looked so pretty. He just slows down with the Glock, takes those slow shots as well. 5yclone had the response after they give up Cave to go through, take control of B main. They get the important kill out there. A couple of whiffs do come through with the Advent, and you know, listen, that's something that might be avoidable, but at the end of the day, Yami just overwhelming.
Yeah, and it really felt like ATOX were in a weird spot there because they didn't actually realize that there were still players on that bomb side, so could have gotten a lot hairier, but this second round is gone pretty swimmingly. Losing Dobu, Yami still on 2 HP, and everybody else should kind of take over from here. Mick will find Mosea as well, so no additional damage done. They'll happily farm that extra cash.
Mick is just on a journey to get the 0 kill.
Yep, he's just under halfway there.
Listen, God picks his, hardest battles for his strongest soldiers, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah, you didn't say that with a lot of conviction, so
hey man,
I wouldn't quote that.
That saying's not from my religion. It's okay. Well, nice nade to come out of ATOX early on. Mercury, though, couldn't actually follow through with the dink on the Falmas. That would have been a nice way to get things started. We saw some fantastic shots from Dobu's Mac 10 yesterday as well, just to drive by into Cave. Hoping to replicate that here.
We saw a lot of very successful SMG bursts in general from that series with Lin.
Cabal,
and we had a lot of missed opportunities too. Yeah, we had a lot of hits and a lot of misses, but that nade did hit and did significant damage onto Mosea. Nade lined up from Yami that won't quite hit the mark.
Jamyoung's so far away and he's still getting damage. He doesn't feel like that's fair. The flashbang, and Mick can only just try to avoid it. Advent phasing in and out of the smoke, but Cabal expects him beforehand. He's wise to these tricks. He's been playing against Advent for far too long, and Mick, well, up to -2 already. This man is on a tear. The best negative human being you've ever seen.
Double swing and just no success on any of these duels here for 5yclone. So only the one man left in Mosea, but this is one of the things about Ancient is you have to get pretty far away from the bomb to survive, especially with these players low HP. Mosea is trying to slip on in, but there, I don't believe, is a kit on the bomb site. So even if he decides to stick this, it would have to be a full 10-second defuse, and that's a big worry. Won't even tap the bomb, but Cabal goes back to check it, and Mosea will be able to collect his hands onto an M4 or only a moment. That bomb going off, it doesn't do enough damage to actually kill any of the players. Nice distance. ATOX cleared out. But a solid take on that B bomb site through and through, just being able to isolate each of those fights, anticipating that move from Advent, you know, very similar to the way we see teams approach and spam sort of the jungle smoke on a Mirage A exec. The idea that players can sort of cheat around the back of that smoke over on long on B is something that a lot of players will anticipate. You just won't always find the timing. Advent didn't really move many muscles, so kind of gave them a lot more of a timing to find him.
Jamyoung's Deagle just ready and charged up. come on, man, give us some nice shots. But Mick will not actually need to reveal his boost up just quite yet. Flashes are good. Jamyoung forced off. The late smoke is going to find him as well. And what, the delayed plant will be met with no spam, no one pushing through, no chances of denying it at all. 5v5 retake attempt, maybe even okay, just play containment, see if you can get a gun or two. 5yclone are planning on buying into the next round with the amount of money that they have left in the tank.
Doing some damage, and damage has been accomplished. An AK that can be recovered as well. Jamyoung low enough health that he can justify just simply running and gunning away, but extra kills coming in. Yeah, Jamyoung actually threatening going for it through a smoke and just gets caught on the fallback. Didn't even think he would really participate, but with as many of his teammates out, he wanted to get involved, see if he can maybe alleviate some of that stress. Loses that AK, but like you said, there's a buy coming nonetheless. A solid start, once again, here from ATOX. We saw this against the Lin Vision as well. They got off to a nice engines roaring entry to the series, but then we started to see Lin steady the waters, and a lot of that was based off of aggression over towards ledge and the mid control. Wonder if ATOX are going to do anything to counteract it. They actually had a lot of success breaking into that A bomb site against Lin Vision, and that round was a good example of how they did it.
Foster plays once again, flashbang down. Jamyoung though fully blinded out by the T side early on. Mosea late, but he's very happy to activate with the Famas as well. Bomb's been dropped and they can't proceed past. The Molotov missed, but Coolest doesn't. Two quick shots and it's Kazi and Mosea to hit the deck. Jamyoung joins them. It's not a party he wanted to be invited to, but he's now ended up there regardless. Coolest, what a performance in this round, but Mercury's still looking to fight back. Bomb not recovered yet, and the flank hasn't been activated. Cabal will be late, but he has to be careful not to be too late. Only going into the donut. Instead, no one to find there. Coolest keeps it going. The quad kill already found, and yet he still might have lost the round had Mercury connected on that second bullet.
Oh, I don't know if he stopped shooting, if he ran out of ammo. I couldn't tell. You know, it all happened so fast. But yeah, Dobu surviving with such a low amount of health, but enough that it made it so that Cabal didn't have to sort of clutch things back. What a round from Coolest. Just breaks down what was looking like a pretty successful hold from 5yclone. As soon as we got that one kill to get the bomb dropped on the bomb site, you could see that ATOX had no space on A aside from Coolest's position, and he really bailed them out.
That's not the start you wanted to see. Poor Mick, man, he's 0 and 8. He's really struggling.
Yeah, but he got his 5 kills. He's at 0.
Jamyoung, nice kill to be found, but no AK to be recovered. Obviously, if anyone wasn't tuned in for the beginning, we had some issues because of which Mick started off -5 and 5 deaths. Keep that in mind. He is technically 5 and 3 right now.
Yeah, you can't really have 8 deaths in 5 rounds.
Hey,
right?
who knows, man? This guy's really had to prove him wrong.
Yeah, that's some sort of magic.
Ooh,
and magic hands.
Jinx.
Advent, just instant headshot, and at least there is a trade at the very least, and a very poorly positioned rifle that cannot be recovered.
No one on the A-bomb side, but Jamyoung could catch a timing. Cabal is slow to watch the flank as well. They've decided to play this as slightly separated, but yeah. Carrying out the side, bomb can be planted and protected. Deagles to be proceeding through. Jamyoung's AK recovered and charging forward. Coolest needs another big moment. He's got it right there. Quad kill number 2. Coolest keeps on delivering.
Wow, I mean, they looked like they were positioned for that perfect double swing, but not even a lick of damage, really finding its mark onto Coolest in that moment. They all had armor. That was a half-buy from 5yclone that looked very threatening, but even though they found themselves in that momentary spot where they were at a significant man disadvantage, just doubling up together and playing that post plant together as well, saves their bacon once again. A dangerous game that Cabal played, but Yami aggro-AWPing with his entry into cave has taken some space in response at the very least. Advent catches a glimpse, but then he suddenly turns around. There's 2 more where that came from. Bomb is still separate from ATOX, but they have full control of this B site.
Mosea's trying to take the first peek over here. Yami on the other side of that smoke will not realize
Easy.
Mosea has just completely outmaneuvered Yami at this point. As the smoke will be dissipating, Yami is going to be met by a quick shot and a second as well. Meanwhile, this T-Sign does have CT control, but the real threat still remains inside cave. Mosea waiting for the push to come through. Funnily enough, they actually used the smoke out for CT to refresh it rather than the smoke off the one position they know about. Jamyoung will be taking a straight 1v1 with Mick. One that he doesn't actually come out on top of early on, but can rectify that later. Dobu, though, given time because of that delay to come through and trade, and Coolest now still the money man on the bomb site. So cashing out checks, and Mosea is just one of them. 7-0. Coolest is 12-2.
Unironically, we should see these guys swap. You know, Coolest, I know you were kind of joking and saying, like, Yami's just the better AWPer. I think Yami brings something to the table that Coolest doesn't when he AWPs, but Coolest just looks so clean on the rifles, and we've seen just so many multi-kills come out from him on that AK. I mean, it looks so simple in his sights, and you know, the kind of level we're seeing at the moment in the fights that he's taking actually looks very reminiscent to some of the praise we would often offer to players like Jamyoung. You know, you're just very stable aim, very sharp shooting on these quick peaks. Coolest says, I mean, he's supposed to be the main AWPer for this team, but looking like a star rifler out here.
Come on, Coolest. Take that AK back. You know you want to.
Can we actually get a POV of Coolest right now? I know we're doing a nice little fly cam, but I wanna know why he's taking it, and it's probably for a spawn. So he actually did have a good spawn for an early peak, and he might. Okay, never mind. He's not even using the spawn.
Oh, that's cute. I don't think I've seen that one before.
Yeah, it's I mean, super hard shot to hit.
Oh, if he hit that one on the jump spot, I would have been.
It's for the boost.
I know, but the jump spot, if he hit that one, oh baby, that would have been nice.
Yeah. You have the least amount of time I've seen on like any boost angle like that to react.
I mean, just like that legendary Axel one tap from midair and Mirage. Yeah, Coolest. He can collect on the easy ones as well. Doesn't all have to be a flashy mid-round, late-round clutch situations.
Oh, they certainly help. Okay, didn't look like that's how that was gonna go, but there's a counter kill. Jamyoung trading back once again, 2-on-3, and the rifle recovered. Yami offers up his head. Hold on, 2-on-2, and that bomb separated. They actually have a pincer maneuver that they could orchestrate towards that bomb if they realize it quick enough. They have to really be worried about this Mick flank, though.
Mick's made a fair bit of noise, but there's no one around to hear it. Jamyoung's pushed all the way through to A main and T spawn instead. A main? No, T spawn. Why am I saying A main? That's not A main. But still, noise being made by both Coolest and Mick, as now it'll be down to Mercury on his Deagle to find something, and it is delivered for free, but the bomb is delivered to A. 8 seconds left, and we talked about how Coolest has done most of his magic in late rounds. Well, here's another late round. 2 players with rifles, no kits to contend with.
They do have a smoke, though, and if they drop that on that bomb, the AWP, the fact that he has a Molotov as well, some of that will be negated just by having that one piece of utility.
He's unsure about where they're coming in from, and he's picked the wrong site. This could just be a straight defuse. He's relying on them to make a mistake. The P250 in his hands, no head armor on their faces, and now the smoke's at the right place as well, but a Molotov will negate, and that smoke's already been used. Coolest knows they're not on the defuse. Close range, no scope, Molotov, long range, Mercury burns alive, and Jamyoung is just another feature on the Coolest highlight. 15-2.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing solid, but you also have to wonder, you know, in a 2v1 like that, when they know that Coolest has that AWP, yeah, sure, theoretically, he could have swapped out to a rifle. I get it. But putting the smoke on the bomb there makes 100% more sense. Not only are you going in with no defuse kit in a 2-on-1, but then you also have no idea where he could be positioned because you're just totally obscured from the idea. So, I mean, it's a wild call for that smoke to have landed Donut, and it does cost them that round, but Coolest hasn't faltered in moments like it.
Failed instant window, by the way.
Well, they can't be totally flawless, can they?
That's actually giving them a lot of space over to Cheetah, though. That means that they can go it very hard because Mosea pushed all the way through and found out that there's no one aggressing forward early on in mid without having to use too much utility. This could be influential.
He didn't hang around, though, so they do have to still be concerned about that area of the map. Yami, nice little jump spot, sees Mercury, and does decent damage. The spam is doing a lot. It's just a quick tap onto Advent as well. Oh, you weren't sure if he was going to keep spamming or keep peeking, but he did a bit of both.
Mosea on the jiggle peek will at least be able to give information. Mercury swings out, perfect flashback to help him as well. Dobu position reveal, but I don't think the bomb was spotted. Even so, they are hightailing it away, and again, spam damage is all Mercury is getting. Champion,
Dude.
what are you looking at?
Quick shot. Kaze at least a kill right back, so still maintaining a man advantage here on 5yclone. Probably the best looking round so far. They have a good inkling as to where they're going with this bomb plant. They have utility, they have good guns as well. Flash in, Mosea primed for both. That flash was actually perfect. And that'll be 5yclone's first round attained as a result of that. But you look at the threat that ATOX throws. It's only when they find themselves in that man disadvantage that they think, okay, yeah, you know what, we'll just go to the other bomb site. And they don't have any troubles in dealing with that one player that stops them from getting to that site. You said Jamyang, what is he looking at? In theory, there could have been someone still mid. You know, Cabal lurking, Make lurking.
Yeah, I mean, in theory.
It was a very fast shot from Coolest as well. Didn't give him a lot of time to react.
But
so.
listen. At this point, that's expected, right? He is having one of the best performances we've seen from him, that is for sure. And Mercury, though, wants to rectify that, takes on Coolest first and foremost. This time will be one of the few rounds where he's not able to find as much impact. Jamyang, however, has found Mick, who's trying to lurk over. Might not have found the lurk in the previous round. This time he does.
Oh,
lovely.
He got fully baited into that. Audible's given up on top of that box. Heard a wooden step, and so that does give away about what they were going for on the boost, but lined up perfectly for Yami on that AWP. You have to keep track sometimes, because we've seen some blowout rounds from Coolest and Yami. Yami aced in the pistol, but he's been chugging along consistently alongside that other AWPer. Maybe he gets another ace, who knows?
Seems a little bit less than likely, but listen, who knows? You're right. Bomb will be planted, all of 5yclone coming in from two angles. No one actually on the flank, so not too much for Dope, rather Cabal to do right now. Yami, he's a hunting, he's a looking. Advent's up on the other side, but the Molotov is what finishes off Yami. Jamyang proceeds forward, makes it look easy. Cabal now left in the 1-on-2 position reveal, and they are both low, so the spam could be great. If he can just line it up, but it doesn't look like it'll be possible. Not quite. Plotted perfectly for it, and sure, damage is great afterwards, but Jamyang, all he can do is try and save that off.
A little hairy, but some nice shots from Jamyang to have given them that extra space. The fact they had that smoke into cave as well. Really solid stuff. As soon as they dealt with Yami, and you know, that was a retake that was fully won off of the utility that 5yclone were holding on to for exactly that kind of a retake. You know, they didn't use it to prevent the plant. They didn't react to all the pressure that ATOX were applying on that bomb site. They waited. They bided their time, and it does pan out for them. Thing is, ATOX just got off to that 8-0 streak so quickly, and with so many sort of explosive, even some of the rounds that came close, you know, even though they were 8-0 and there's now been a couple of rounds for 5yclone, they'd amassed a lot of cash, but that's kind of broken down. Now they're in a spot where 5yclone, they win this round, they are very likely to sort of deal with a less than ideal buy in the following round, and that can allow them to close that gap, which you don't want to let a lead like that slip. They had a 10-5 full away from them against Lin Vision on Inferno, and they realized that against these top teams, nothing is ever really given for free. Can't take a lead like this for granted.
Need every last inch, that's for sure. Flash dodged out, Jamyang can't find any kills in this fast-paced play. Could be what gives them another W on the board. Dobu and Mick will not slow down. And Mercury, although he's able to keep Yami at bay for a while and drop the bomb, it's only as short-lived as his life is. Yami finds him on the trade around, and Mosaic, well, sure, does actually find a kill. Make it 2 Cabal, an overcommitment you don't very often see from him, but it's coolest to quickly rectify. Both him and Yami continue to carry through. 17 kills apiece. These guys are on fire.
Yeah, and you think about the inverse as well. There's been small stints, small glimpses of hope for 5yclone, but just in terms of pure raw mechanics, I think the coolest in Yami show has been quite the marvel to watch. You know, we haven't seen these big, great flashes from anyone bar maybe Jamyang and I think Mercury. You know, that Mosaic had a nice double kill there as well. But Kaze is noticeably struggling at the moment. 1 in 10 on an AWPer that is usually so consistent.
Unnoticeable.
And continuing to struggle, even in a nice little 1-2 push on the A-bomb site. Jamming, nice dig. Could have another chance at it, but Flash will at least deter him for now. Yeah, no additional damage should really be done here, but Jamyang just keeps on finding heads. The head hunter.
Meanwhile, Yami is hunting over the other side. He's not likely to find anyone. Jamyang 6 HP, hunting heads. Sure, gets another one actually. Give the man his plaudits. Yeah, does deliver. Unfortunately, he's not really been in the position to sort of put a big halt to any of the aggression coming through from 5yclone. So much of it is focused out towards the B-bomb side and Cheetah early on. We've not really seen, outside of one round early on, much of a fast-paced play towards A. So Jamyang has so often been in these situations where sure he'll get a kill in the middle, maybe he'll get a kill and retake, but it is then just a retake where the round's already very difficult by that point.
Yeah, it's not always a fast A play, but when it is, that donut smoke is there much earlier than you would want. Oh, I think Kaze spotted him. Yeah, I just caught a glimpse of the rifle as that smoke was dispersing, so a free kill there for Kaze on what was supposed to be an A-side split from ATOX, but they fully abandoned that decision given how quickly Cabal was dealt with.
Mercury stays alive, Molotov down as well, and the double cave setup will continue. Pop flash in for a re-peek, and Yami has suffered as a result, though Advent will lose his life. Mosaic still able to rotate through in time, both him and Mercury making quick work of the remaining ATOX players. Mick wants to make a show of his own, though. Another frag found. Can he continue on for a bit more? No. Jamyang is there to shut it down. Third round now on the board for 5yclone, and it, funnily enough, does manage to reset the ATOX economy because of just how many 1vx's, 2vx's that there have been for this T side.
Yeah, and all the damage that was done from Jamyang in that prior round on the Dig actually does come back to bite ATOX there, because aside from those shots, you know, the take on the A-bomb site was looking pretty solid. They were likely to keep sort of 4 players alive at the very minimum. Had they had that coming into this round, then yeah, they could have actually bought more guns alongside this hero AWP that Coolest has for himself.
Mosaic. Freebie found early on, and remember, this is a force buy from ATOX, so you lose this and you are probably giving up the 10-5 to 5yclone. The only real gun is Coolest, but his hands are gonna be struggling to find many kills. The AWP is hardly the best hunting weapon on Ancient. Flashbang, yeah, his hunting days are over.
Kind of a rough spray control there from Advent, but no problems. Following kills. A little surprising to have seen them gone for this particular buy, because now we enter the last round of the half, and it will just simply be a force, only on $1,900 loss bonus, so some Tech 9s, some utility, some armor, and a bomb site in their sights. You know, it's very unlikely that we see a slowed round here from ATOX. And as much as a 10 round half for this T side is already quite substantial, and it certainly has been an exceptional showing here from the Mongolians. Again, we cannot simply sit pretty on those laurels up against these pistols. Wow. Dobu flashed up, still finding the head of Mosea, and Kaze is actually brought down very low in his effort to just get a shot straight through the smoke. So they get their hands on a rifle, they find a man advantage, and Kaze is weak in the knees.
Kaze continuing forward, the jump spot over isn't going to be continuing though, so Yami can fade away. Rifle trading hands back to Coolest. No surprises there. But now you are hitting a bomb site with only one player ready to defend. Mosea's demise means that they know there shouldn't be anyone early on back in Cheetah. And Mercury is actually rotating back to go for the full mid-side retake. This bomb site is free. And not just that, they can get it in post-spawn positions very quickly.
Yeah, and the saving grace for some of these retakes has been utility, but they don't have Molotovs to flush these players out into the open.
3 players getting ready to peek back out into CT. This is going to be a very scary prospect to come through. Makes the first one for contact, and the second he does, the swings will start to come forward. Dobu demolishing them with Coolest right behind. It's 11-4, and ATOX off the back of a half win. We'll be going to the second half very happy, but we have to take a short break before we can witness that.
An 11-4 half with a surprising level of performance from Coolest on the rifle. The man sits 22-7 and is attributed to many a round win. A lot of these close rounds, the few lights at the end of the tunnel for 5yclone on that CT side came down to Coolest in some of these clutch positions, and he stole it right from the jaws of defeat so many times over. They'll be satisfied at 11-4 on that T side. That's more than enough, and it's certainly what the doctor ordered, especially bouncing back after the loss they took against Linvision yesterday. Two of the champions in back-to-back days, but ATOX have come ready to play here on their map pick in the series. Ancient starting off well. We'll see if the second half continues as well as we transition them to CT. 5yclone with a lot of utility on this T start.
Of course, CT side was where ATOX did struggle before, and 5yclone now are setting up for a full B-side execution. ATOX, though, might have something else in mind. Nick is looking to proceed through. Mosaic covers him up, and now Yami on the second prong is already a dead man. Dobu, spam will not matter as Coolest rotation will be late. He'll have to contend with Mosaic as he tries to get back up the ledges. Mosaic still keeping an eye out, but now caught between two worlds. Cabal has revealed his position, trying to set up Coolest for success, but as Coolest starts to creep through, is there any turn back for him to find? No turn backs. They're all facing forward, and 5yclone will win the round without a single casualty.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a nice way to start. Only way you could have done that better is getting an ace on one of your players, and
that's already been done.
That has been done. We've knocked it off the bucket list for this particular series. I mean, it's the first piece of the puzzle, first slice of the pie for 5yclone coming into this second half. If ATOX had taken that pistol, very likely would have seen them just simply roll through the rest of this map. That extra buffer that 5yclone have bought themselves does give them more of a shot at it. See a complete save from ATOX in response coming into the second round as well. They know they have the extra rounds to play with, and the utility will certainly help as well. You saw a few moments from 5yclone on attempted retakes, but they just didn't have the right amount of utility. They were having to play further back than they actually wanted to because of that.
Oh, I think that I found myself a cheerleader.
I won't lie, I did forget that song existed until we got to the final punchline.
Well, listen. Yami doesn't like the punchlines either, wants to keep on fragging with the Deagle. We've already seen this have some impact before. Yami replicating Jam Young's earlier success, which is to say he gets 3 kills and no one else gets anything.
Yami is just such a fun player to watch, you know, very flicky kind of player. Very young in the way that he aims. You know, the older you get in the scene, the more we see players just simply hold angles and really think which fight they're going for first. But the way that he's just darting between fights, you know, he knows that there's a couple of fights back to back and he's just ready for each one. It is a joy to watch when it hits. Doesn't end up in a round win, but it's, you know, it's damage, and that could certainly add up. You see that there's not extra residual cash for 5yclone in a following round to facilitate a buy, as they get a bomb plant down.
I don't know if you saw the pathing from Advent right there, but he just into the wall all the way through while strafing back to the boxes to using anti-flash. Just looks kind of funny. Yami though peeking in, and Jamyang is ready to intercept. He is the original Asian star, and he wants to keep it that way. However, Coolest is currently the man of the match, and he continues to be just that. Mick, close range, spotted out the player as he fades away. Mosaic is pushing through, taking damage, yes, but the flash has been reset, and Mick's got a USB, still looking to get jiggy, but Advent doesn't want to party. He's an old man. He wants to go back home after a quick win, even if ATOX is making him work for it.
Be tricky. Coolest, ahead of the smoke. Kaze deals with him though. Found the dink just round the corner, and Coolest didn't know quite where to look. Advent holding for the flank, and Cabal will be found as well. Not quite the electric start to this game that we saw from the previous run-in with Cabal. He was certainly one of the shining lights for this ATOX roster, but has seen a bit more struggle against 5yclone. Regardless, the result remains the same. 5yclone are continuing to roll with the punches. That first gun round of ATOX, unable to really slow them on that B-site hit. And maybe this is just, you know, overzealousness, or maybe the comms are getting cluttered, but, you know, had they actually set up for the retake and had more players nearby before they committed to fights, maybe there was a chance there more for ATOX, but Dobu rectifying a mistake that he made in the prior round by just hitting a lovely dig onto Advent. Or aggression, Mick found, though. So, an equalizer.
Just shoot him in the head, Michael. That's how you fix your mistakes.
Yeah, easier said than done for some.
For some mistakes or some people? That's the question.
Some people.
Okay.
Yeah, just making sure to get all these smokes down. The digs are out, and they've heard them in heavy presence. They know these players can hit those quick headshots. Well, be cautious about how they approach this site.
Smokes are always scary when you're facing off versus Deagles, though. As you start to fade away, the bomb default and Ancient is always a bit of a tricky angle to actually back out from. Kamal going to get aggressive, will be spotted out, and Mosea is looking to close the distance despite it being a 5-7 on the other side. He heard the reload and just wants to commit to the easy duel. Don't blame him for that at all. Coolest backing off, but nowhere to run, and Kaze will make sure that there is nowhere to hide.
This is actually one of those spots where, because ATOX are ahead by a significant margin and they only came in with a half buy here, I actually thought, because of the fact that this was a full execute, they didn't have, you know, Molotovs to disrupt the plant, they didn't have HEs to sort of bombard the default part of the site. I thought they were just going to contain them because of the fact that bomb radius is so large. It's actually one of the ways you can, you know, pull extra guns out of your opponent's hands because they have to get distance. But they wanted to give it a good old college try. It didn't work out there. And that lead that they came into this half with, it was a 7-round discrepancy, has now shrunk to 3.
And this is something we discussed yesterday, actually, for LinVision, which was working out in favor of ATOX, which will now be against them. And that if you get to a point where it's like 11-9, 11-10, and you're trading 1-for-1 rounds, 5yclone will always be on like that 4 or 5 round loss bonus, and you will always be on just 1. Or was it the other way around? Am I dumb? I'm dumb. I meant to say the other way around. Well, Michael, you know what? Ignore everything I ever said. Don't let me talk in a timeout.
Yeah, I also made a mistake when I was talking about the buys earlier on. You know, the ATOX were actually prioritizing getting more gun rounds, not having utility. You know, I was talking about the importance of utility on retakes. But it is what it is.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah, this was also another spot where, you know, ATOX did struggle on their CT side of Ancient versus Lin for many of the same problems that we've seen. You know, these late game decisions, it feels like something gets screwed a little loose. Kamal, though, won't miss out on his shot. His gears are starting to finally activate. Coolest flashed off the angle, and he's the man that was supposed to actually thin the herd. Cabal tries his best to desperately claw an advantage back, get some kind of semblance of control back on the bomb site, but that bomb can go down safely.
No utility left for 5yclone at this point, but they need to just get the quick shot. Coolest covering off the fade from Jam Young and will find the easy kill. Molotov at his feet disrupts him, but not Dobu. It spreads too far forward. Dobu can swing out from behind it, but he just meets his death there, and then Coolest cannot push. They know it as well. It has to be the players from Donut to activate, and Mercury's already behind them. This looks like it's going to be a free double. Yami thinks about turning around, but doesn't actually commit to it, and Coolest all alone in the retake. No way in hell that he can get this defuse out. He does have a kit, but do they go for the spam? Not landing right now, and the knife out, but Advent's gun will still seal the deal. 5yclone win out the round, but lose all their members to do so.
Yeah, losing out to that bomb is obviously unideal, but they're just happy that they've been able to quell that flame. ATOX actually looking pretty solid in the way that they're approaching that retake, finding a couple of these kills via Coolest, just unable to get any of the sort of rifling effectiveness, even with that double donut pressure. They never anticipated the flank in for Mercury. Dangerous stuff. in that round, but there are quite a few rounds similar for ATOX on their journey on their T side as well. So it all swings in roundabouts, and, well, we'll be rounding Mick down to a 20-second death. You know, 5 of those don't really count.
Yeah, but unfortunately, 17 of those do.
Yeah, he's been dying the most.
Obviously, a player we talked about struggling yesterday as well. Right now, his score is technically 10 and 17. And it doesn't matter that much when you've got Coolest and Yami to just sort of wipe the floor with everyone. But now Mick and Cabal being fairly absent from the server is going to start coming into play on the CT side. It's not too different from what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, kind of easier as well to get your, you know, hot players, you know, in terms of just players being able to hit their shots. Much easier to get them in the right spots on T sides when you're just sort of clumping together for these hits. So a lot of sort of mid-rounding from ATOX in that regard, but on CT, weaknesses can be exploited a little bit heavier. You want at least 1-2 kills from any of the members on your roster. Coolest and Yami cannot be everywhere.
Poor Cabal doesn't even get the kill bonus.
Yeah, it's a stolen frag. That's $300 nicked out of his pocket.
And more importantly, he's only on 7 kills. He could have used that 8.
Yeah, I guess. Kind of like if you cut down a tree and it happens to get somebody. You know, it's kind of collateral damage, but you're the one responsible.
I don't think that's quite how it works. Because I feel like if you're standing around a falling tree, you're pretty dumb in the first place.
Maybe. Those trees can sneak up on you, though, real quick.
This takes 100 yards for them to grow, but only a second for Coolest to kill him. Mercury down, and the collateral means Advent is hardly a healthy boy. Just 12 HP left on him, and a re-smoke out means that they are... Wait, that's not right.
No, it's not.
I
don't know what it bounced off of. There can be some finicky trajectories, finicky geometry on these maps.
Finicky physics of CS.
Yeah.
Source will fix it.
Yeah, it will. Maybe.
Might just make it worse because of how much more detailed things can be. Who knows? Regardless, though, Yami is going to be the main man at this point. Oh, Kaze! What a shot! He wasn't even quite looking at it. Was just getting ready to peek out the angle and let a sharp flick, and there you have it. 4 versus 4. Now he does find damage, but Coolest is on an AWP, so he doesn't really care about how weak these players are. Can just take them down piece by piece. Mazaya is gone, and well, now Coolest, instead of spamming away inside the smoke, wants to mask his presence, and almost even gets Advent on the jump across, but no such luck. Nade, however, is slightly late. Bomb will be planted. Jamyoung looking to replace Advent, hoping that he can catch them off guard. They might not be ready for this at all. Kaze, flashbang through. They've got 2 of those. Not too much to do with them. Jamyoung's got the first. Second flash needs to go out. The AWP is scouted. Jamyoung knows where it might be, but Kaze is now locked into a corner. Can't find the shots. Cabal still forcing him away. Maybe even just a spam would be enough to take him down. Coolest needs to just come through, peek forward. They know he's been dinked down early in, and the USB can finish him off.
Yeah, just good communication there from Yami at the very least. Probably just constantly keeping an eye out on who's actually found the additional assist, or whether or not he gets his assist on any of the players. And so the math sort of added up. He tallied, he saw no assists on any of those players, and so knew that Kaze had to be low HP. Went dink for dink in an earlier fight, and a solid effort there from Kaze given his health. But a really tough position to have been in, a 2 versus 4. ATOX succeeding in that retake and get their first round on this CT side as a result. Good patience, solid util.
What is
been doing a bit of everything on this map. Is it actually replicatable is part of the problem.
Oh. Yami's giving up his position. Flashbang through could help out with a quick peek, and Jamyang is indeed in pursuit, but a smoke down, and you can't stop Jamyang with just a smoke. You just gave him a one-way for a CT.
I won't linger with it, though. Knows that they should be conscious of his spot, and he's very isolated, so even could get backstabbed. He is drawing some additional presence, though. Mercury still probing inside of Cave as a B execute actually lined up here for Cyclone.
Coolest has been given time to start rotating back over. This kill is crucial, but Mercury finds it. Dobu can't maintain. Coolest, though, close range, quick scope. Mazea around the corner will finish him off, so there can't be more damage dealt. Cabal and Mick have got nothing to contribute. Mick as well, just spamming away. A 1v4, you're really trying to commit to that one? No. No chance there at all. 11 for Cyclone.
Yeah, his teammates died so quickly around him that, I mean, even at that point, it's just incredibly hard to even bail out in a position like that. Advent found a kill through mid, I think, as well, as the round was developing over at B. It siphoned one of those players out, so it's not ideal. You get that one blip on the radar, and then suddenly you're back to kind of a similar position. Cyclone with a chance to tie. And it's largely been to their own prerogative. You know, they're the ones that are dictating the flow of this game. We haven't seen many really aggressive maneuvers come out from either squad on this CT side. You know, we compare that to what we saw yesterday. We had, you know, Lin taking over all of B lane, or even getting a player pushed all the way through A main. It's actually kind of surprising to see that both these squads have only really gone for plays like that when they're on these lower buys.
Flash ran through, but it's not good enough to keep Coolest off. Kaze is dead on the boost. And Jamyang can't actually collect onto Cabal, pushing forward. Now this only op of Coolest does have some company, but Yami, rather, is fairly far away.
You might think, Cabal, why is he fighting with a USP? But one, he's got a Mag 7. But two, they may not anticipate that he has a shotgun. Not that it matters.
What is that angle?
Dead.
He's just like a super long range fight again. Okay.
Yeah, he did. I think he was trying to bait that he was only USPs, kind of trying to fight, you know, and somebody would kind of chase after him, but nobody was biting. Coolest, though, has hit every shot he's been given, and he spots the bomb with it.
31 and 14. Now the push from Yami and company starts to come forward as well. Let's not forget, Yami does not have Kevlar, so really hated if he just gave that M4 to Dobu instead, but they're heading right back over towards the A bomb site. Mick will be rotating as well, but Coolest, even if he does rotate, he's only got an op. Ops on rotations just seem to be so lackluster. There aren't smokes available, just the one for CT, so maybe the op can activate later on, especially with the Molotov if he can place it nicely. Mick needs a frag, though. At this point, Mick's the only one who has actually got the ability to take point, and Coolest with the deep Molotov will force out the first. They're staying inside the flames for a while longer. Mercury able to duck in because of that delay, but a missed shot from Mick. It looked like it was right on the money, but no. Can't adjust his crosshair quite far enough, and Yami's already committed to death.
Yeah, that one kill onto Coolest, I really feel like makes all the difference. Had a perfect Molotov to disrupt the post plant. That was a worrying round finish there from Cyclone. They were 3 versus 4, but they tried to go for this late attack on the A play. And some of it's kind of unfortunate timing. You know, the fact that Dobu's kind of the first one that takes contact from elbow.
With the Mag 7 instead of the M4 they can just take from Yami.
Well, he had a pistol. He wasn't shooting with the
Oh no,
Mag
I just
7,
mean that he has a Mag 7. He could have he has Kevlar, right? So he can have the M4 peek in quickly, have the M4 recovered, right? There's an optimized way of trying to go for that.
Yeah, some mismanagement, maybe some miscommunication as well, but
no miss.
Sometimes how the cookie crumbles. Cyclone with a chance to actually find themselves in a lead. This is another full buy here from ATOX, but they've left the B bomb site predominantly vacant. Smokes are not down on short or long, but they get access to the bomb site. Even though Cave is predominantly under CT control, they have a man advantage in the post plant. There's no kits here either.
Yeah, this might honestly be a call to think about saving, especially with a flashbang. No, it does connect. Wow, that's an interesting flashbang. Thought it's supposed to go through, but instead it's bouncing inside and still flashes the guy. Huh. Position revealed by Mosaic, spam back, but really it's all just a gun measuring contest, one which both teams will end out not really losing too much from.
Oh my god, Mercury still almost
Yeah.
died. He's in T-spawn, bro. He had 5 HP, and he came down to 3.
I feel like you just need to make the walls thicker around T-spawn.
You just need to make all the walls thicker in general. They're bricks. They're bricks. Well, the first lead we've had from 5yclone all game long. An 8-0 start from ATOX on their T side, but it's been T sides aplenty on this map thus far. 5yclone showing that they have exactly what's needed as well to find success. We've had a slowdown in the star power of ATOX in response. The stars can't be everywhere all at once. But them saving all those rifles over, it does of course allow them to carry that forward, give them another shot at it here. Another chance to tie this game up.
Oh.
Damage solid onto Mercury. The spam battles into Cave have been certainly something to witness between Yami, Dobu. They've been all pretty proficient at lining those up. I think Mercury had a spam as well. But they have peeled away from the B bomb side. It was a pretty heavy default that direction, and it's still kept quite a few of these players on ATOX preoccupied around that side of the map. You see Mercury still trying to run distraction with the added footsteps. They're actually posturing up for what is kind of tailored to be, I think, an A attack with maybe a mid lurk. It'd be a bit surprising because Advent's kind of the closest man to respond with that, and he has the bombs, so it will just be a simple A side attack.
Coolest needs to start taking the swing out soon. When he does activate, he's got 2, but it's already traded out. The 3v3 for 5yclone with full control over the site. You've even got Mercury trying to lurk forward. If he can actually find Cabal, that makes it so much more scary. But Mick, he's found Advent through the smoke. The spam will stop the bomb from being planted. 15 seconds, they're still spamming away. Kaze, with the smoke dissipating, knows that he can't commit to the bomb plant either. Needs to find these kills, but the CTs aren't giving it up. There's no way to win this round anymore. Mercury's been found as well, and Kaze, all he can do is try to save this op. Who does find some damage as he's doing so. Knows there's another player close by, and the CTs have to be careful not to give up too much. Cabal able to bait out the shot, though, and ATOX equalize.
Yeah, taking down Kaze after time. He did have a lot of money built up, so it doesn't actually matter that he dies after the clock. But at least nice that they're able to make it as expensive as possible, you know, moving forward to future rounds. You don't want to have to combat the strengthened economy of 5yclone throughout. That one spam kill from Mick made a world of a difference. No, he's not had the most stellar of games, currently on 12 kills, not 7. But none more important than that. Cabal, full flash, teammates caught behind smokes and can't do anything. Even the spam back from Advent. Yami doing so much damage onto Advent, but not collecting on a kill. Coolest at least finishing off the job with that AWP, and he's had the hot hand. 34 already to his name. And the last man really standing between them and the bomb site. Small gap for Jamyoung. It's enough for him to allow the confidence to creep on out. 1 kill and Mick counters, but they now know exactly where he is in this 2v1. Kaze storming over towards that B bomb site.
Next doing the same, though, and if they're not careful about their spacing, Kaze, it's going to be crossing right into the crosshair. He's got the bomb. Mick, though, can't win the duel out. 14. Found for 5yclone. Tenuous a game, but a gap in the smoke is what gives Jamyoung that second kill. Otherwise, Coolest could have continued on that same hot streak. Now, getting to the verge of elimination, ATOX are going to be having their last buy, and it is not a good one.
Yeah, it's pretty worrying. We saw a pretty contentious round on a similar buy before. Did slip out of their fingers, even though they had a 4-on-3 advantage on the ATOX side.
Yeah.
But you're really putting a lot of faith that this will be the moment. They didn't want to allow Cyclone up to a 15th, not for free. Because this was supposed to be their win. 11-4 coming into the second half. Only getting 2 rounds to their name since.
CT side struggles are definitely real for them.
Oh, we saw some T-side struggles, I believe, on Inferno as well. It's really just been the second halves.
Just the sides in general. Their sides have been struggling.
Yeah. Maybe you need to let off all that comedy. Oh,
God.
1 kill and okay. They get caught inside of the smoke that just freshly blooms inside of cave. They wanted to be aggressive. And Mercury body blocked. he simply stopped them from coming out of the smoke.
Just stand in front of them, bro. Yami's gone as well, and where once upon a time both he and Kuz were tied 17-17, Yami's hot hand is definitely been depleted of all resources. Kuz, however, continues to aggress. Unfortunately for Cabal, though, he can't do the same. 36-18 for Kulas, 21-18 for Yami.
And it won't be enough. It's not looking like it will be. 15-13 the scoreline, and Cyclone have completely turned this ship around. Both T sides from these teams have been pretty solid to watch. You know, nice variance in the way that they're calling. It's definitely been a bit more mid-round heavy from Cyclone. We haven't seen any of these quick attacks on the B or the A bomb site respectively. It's really been later executions. But that's exactly how Lin kind of approached their T side as well. You know, they played a lot of very slow, drawn-out rounds, and they capitalized on opportunities. But it hasn't actually been, you know, these sort of fresh ATOX are over-pushing for information picks that Cyclone have been getting. They've just been going for quick map control. They'll sometimes find that kill in middle, or they'll get a pick in cave, and they've been able to collapse as a result of that onto a target later on into the round. So, well, a great way to start your potentially last round of Ancient. A little stab to the brains of Nobu.
I know about slap ass in sports. Let's not bring it out of CS where you've got knives.
At least he didn't right-click him.
Mercury, though, looking at left leg down some fools. Mick is gone. These entries from Mercury have been fantastic, and he wants to continue forward. Dobu on the spam needs to be careful. The MP9 will never win out that duel, and neither will Yami. On the other side, Coolest is the only one left. And he is in a 1v4, which honestly kind of describes his performance. Shamyang, nah, can't. He will put an end to Coolest. 36-19 on the losing side, but it will not be enough. It is just Cyclone to come through on that second half, looking absolutely untouchable.
Yeah, kind of a surprise it turns out that way, considering we had slow burner starts for quite a few of the players on that Cyclone side. You know, I think Jamyoung was the shining light for a predominant period of time, but then we get into the second half, then Mercury's having a lot more impact. We're getting Kaze up there as well, Mosea. Even Advent had some of those moments where he's able to sort of trade effectively with the rest of his team. So it was just a complete tale of two halves, and unfortunately this is another one of these tough losses that ATOX are going to just have to take on the chin.
Absolutely, and for ATOX, look, this is definitely going to be a little bit of a learning experience for them as far as, hey, what to do when you're sort of cooling down this much on one of your star players. I do think that Yami being missing that way on middle just made it so much more difficult for them to maneuver around the map. I know that Cabal and Mick weren't really putting up numbers, and look, there's definitely rounds that they lost because of that, but it did feel like that rotation and retake presence was never actually there because Yami couldn't perform from mid. And if you can't retake on Ancient, honestly, your CT side it's just not going to work. This map is the retake map.
Yeah, I do wonder if it's actually sort of less to do with that and more to do just like maintaining mentality and composure, because they've shown us some great Counter-Strike over the past couple of days, just in terms of how they compose some of their T sides. Even some of their CT rounds look very convincing. But then we get into these close games, and that seems to be where they're struggling to sort of dig in that extra layer.
Well, listen, man, the answers can only be found on the server, and unfortunately, we've got to take a short break before we can go hunting for them. But we'll be back very soon with the second map. Stay tuned. Let's see whether this can go to 3. Welcome back to week 2, day 2 of the ESL Challenger League Season 46 Asian Division. It's ATOX versus Cyclone, formerly known as Rare Atom, and we're heading into map 2 of Nuke. Rare Atom bringing out a nice little comeback in the second half of Ancient, taking it home for themselves, and now they move into their own map pick.
Yeah, and a nice little confidence boost to the fact that they were down at such a significant portion at the half. It was a 4-11 deficit for them, and they made that comeback all the way and made it a 16-13 win for themselves. So the fact that they were able to remain in that position, you know, they understand that they're a team that have they've effectively created a dynasty within this region. The fact that they've been as consistent as they have for so long, and this is against a newer team in ATOX, even though they lost to them a couple of months ago, they didn't let that happen to them again, at least not on this first map. So
not yet.
Yeah, not yet. And you know, moving into Nuke is actually interesting because, you know, we looked at the veto for the Lin Vision game yesterday for them and ATOX, and it was actually a map that Lin liked to pick themselves, but they actually stayed away from it because last time they faced off against ATOX on it, they actually lost that map. So Rare Atom actually just not scared of the fact that ATOX could even surprise them potentially on Nuke.
ATOX is pretty solid on Nuke. We have to obviously keep that in mind. I think that ATOX also beat Rare Atom the last time they played them on Nuke. I'm just quickly checking that one out in a second as well. But obviously, in the meanwhile, we also have to add that with caveats about performances so far. You know, numbers aside, especially in the second half onwards, we didn't really see too much coming out from Cabal, Mick, and Yami. And look, a lot of that comes down to how well and the step up that comes out from Cyclone. You know, Advent and Kaze were both like 3 and 11 and 1 and 11 respectively, and they ended up on 17, 16, 14, 22, which independently don't sound like amazing score lines, but when you consider how much of a ramp up they must have needed, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and they got Mosea, Mercury activated, jamming was consistent throughout, so yeah, I mean, to have those three players, those three core rifling stars actually show up and deliver when they needed the most. Again, massive confidence boost coming into this map, and they will start T-side, their map pick in the series. We'll see whether Cyclone 2-0 it, or whether ATOX will destine us to Inferno. First off, we'll have to see whether Cabal can actually hold his own over on ramp. Actually forced away very quickly, didn't want to concede his life too fast.
25 pieces of Kevlar. Cabal needs to get his work done right here, and he is performing. 2 quick headshots. Unfortunately for him, they are responded on a little bit too swiftly as well, so the 3v3 is there. Not quite the advantage he was hoping to acquire for his teammates. Pump can't actually be planted just yet, though. There are too many players in great positions. Unfortunately, Mosea is one of them. Yami blanked out and backstab, but Mick with a great shot can actually close the door on the bomb as well. Doesn't need to necessarily face into them, but the bomb's already retreating back. They've got information from both players. The bomb is planted. Jamyoung slow on the retreat. Back from Silo, looking to pop out a few more shots, and finally will connect. It's all down to Mosea. Around the corner he goes, and Dobu can't recover. Chaotic as can be, but Mosea still comes out on top.
Oh, you just see the veteran kind of playstyle there from Jamyoung. Understood exactly what he had to do in that situation. Just dialing in those digits on the last remaining player in Mosea, and Jamyoung prioritized his life over taking those fights. He understood that he knew where both those players were, and he actually understood which fight was more advantageous for him, but he tried to preserve his opportunity as best as possible to actually swing double as soon as Mosea got that bomb planted. So really well done from him, even though Mosea is the one that ultimately needs to find that final shot. Buy-in from ATOX, and a quick cross towards Secret by the Cyclone attack. Oh, has found his kill with the shotgun. A bit of a specialist in this regard.
Dobu found and brought down. Yami's the only one to find a frag so far. It is, I believe, the first kill with a max 7 that we've had all game, but when you've got this many purchased up, I suppose it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, Cabal found one himself, so...
Okay.
Yeah,
first
3 mags, but 2 kills, and a third one found, so 1 a pop. And they're quick to ascend through those vents and get some distance away from Cabal's danger zone. Jamyoung had a chance facing the wrath of the Cabal shotgun, but no success. It will be another round for Cyclone nonetheless.
Did Yami just buy into another Max 7 immediately? Okay, they're going for the same thing again. He did get some money from it in the previous round, and so did Cabal, so I guess you're justifying the purchase through that, but you are limiting your utility in that first gun round. Not too much.
Yeah, what they got 2,400 here, so 2,900 coming to their pockets in the following round, so they'll be fine.
Well, definitely, if you're getting kills like that, Yami with the 2 big ones. Cabal can't really find the same, but hey, man, that's all you want, that's all you need. And Coolest is the one finding more. Mercury not realizing how exposed he was. Coolest. Mac 10 now at the ready, and Kaze as low as he is, this is a 1v1 waiting to happen. Especially with Coolest actually going for the full flank out. If he gets a pop or if he gets a drop, this would be big, but Kaze is actually lent inside. Coolest trying to go for the quick silent drop down into ladder, and the bomb is descending, yes, but Coolest is ascending onto Kaze. Switching out guns was a possibility, one that he ignores. Mosea's got an SMG, why shouldn't he?
Well, Galil recovered and a Molotov as well en route, but Mosea has a great post-plant position to hold this in from. Coolest even using the D because he wants that quick headshot to find him. Molotov in, and Coolest gives away his position. Mosea knows exactly where he's coming from. This high ground spot is so hard to deal with, but Coolest reads it. Galil out. He anticipates that it's just going to be a straight-up gunfight. 19 HP remaining here on Coolest, and he's unsure. Mosea could have gone anywhere on those rafters, and he plays him like a fiddle. 3-0, and another 1v1 in which Mosea has to come out ahead for 5yclone to maintain this flawless start.
How annoying must it be to play that 1v1 versus an MP7 like that, right? He could potentially have jumped over behind you, just pulled a full of Maido Shindaru, but no, he just gets back onto the railing. But now where is he? Is he back forward? What's going on? It just... Master of the Chaos, man. This guy's not a rookie anymore, that is for sure.
But considering that was just a half-buy with the Mag 7s, very successful round all in all, has limited the amount of built-up cash here for 5yclone. Only one that's got residual is Mosea because of the fact he's survived and had those 1v1s. Full gun round here, and Coolest with his AWP will strike first.
Really good position, but he knows he needs to commit so much damage. Mosea will have a much harder time pulling out any clutches now. Dobu is looking to peek forward. There's nowhere else for him to go. Collects on one before being traded out, but 5yclone still disadvantage courtesy of Coolest and his first pickoff.
You see how quick Yami moves in for containment as well, pushing all the way through lobby, and understands that if they're heavy in ramp, then he holds a very problematic spot for them to reset. Yeah, they're trapped here.
Oh, Coolest turns away from the angle. Might not matter as he is going to be given a second shot at it. Smoke down, flashbang dodged. Coolest gets one for free, and now looking for a little bit more. He's going to be trapped in behind the bomb site, and Kaze has found his teammate. A second missed shot means that Kaze will not be letting you go. Bomb faked out. Yami thinking of the push through, but recognizes the fake. Door still open. It is just a jump across. Kaze exchanging dinks, but it's only Mosea left. Like I said, the clutch will be made oh so much more difficult by the earlier damage, especially now that he's had to go through a Molotov. 5 HP is all he has. And there's no time to actually rotate away. He knows it and just wants to try and waste the op, if nothing else. Dying is not a possibility either. Mosea, you are... Well, he's just saving the op. Okay.
A little confused, perhaps, but he had the right spirit, I suppose. I think his teammates maybe were in his ear after he dropped all of his guns and ascended those vents. I think he was just anticipating dying, and then there was nobody at the top of the vent, so it's like, go back and grab that ult for Kaze at least. But we see the repercussions. If it isn't the consequences of their own actions, the fact that they've lost as many players in prior rounds, it's only that AWP on Kaze and Mosea's buy as a result of the extra cash he brought forward. But Mosea with an AK is already a threat enough. One kill, and Mercury found as well on the follow-up kill there from Coolest. Advent will meet the exact same fate. Only Jamyang that really stands between them and a completely lost round, and does find the head of Coolest, so the bomb can be recovered. Kaze probing outside in a quick adjustment, down to 3 HP though.
Another easy kill for Yami to just shut him down. And yeah, Kaze is not ready for Yami to have moved past that far forward, even if he was aware of the flank this time. Coolest did deliver it in the previous few rounds. But it's all Jamyang alone, a 1 versus 2. And listen, man, if there's one player I'm down to see clutching out, Mosea might have had these performances now, but Jamyang is the man with history behind him. Both players coming in from the same angle. Jamyang wants to try and look up for just way down. He gets it every single time.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it just looks so simple. Knew that door opened up close and was so ready for the following swing, and trading on that AWP is not always the most ideal. Had they had swap spots, there was maybe a chance, but Jamyang just so clean on the angle that he held with that spray control. These clutches are really being a thorn in the side of ATOX. Had one fall in their way, this would be a tied scoreline. Or I guess as close to tie as you can in 5 rounds.
This is 3 clutches, 1 by 5yclone, if I'm not wrong.
Yep, 3 clutches.
Yeah,
2 by Mosea, 1 by Jamyang.
Potentially many more to come. All the swag in the world, and it's all in the hands of ATOX.
Well, the only people we've seen actually succeed on the shotguns thus far have been Cabal and Yami, so see whether Mick can get some $800 goodness in his pocket too.
Is it a $900?
Oh, sorry, $900.
Okay.
You're correct.
Well, I mean, he's about to get some $4,750 goodness as well, potentially, but Mosea stops that from happening. Will instead just be a cash deposit. Second kill for Mick found. What is going on there?
Oh,
Cabal as
God.
well, and now maybe it's time for the steal. Don't know about stealing, but it's definitely time for another clutch.
Yeah, 2v2, and they've decided to bait some sounds towards outside. You see the drop from Cabal as a reaction. The idea that they could have compromised the lower site. So we'll split the CT defense. Dobu's left in charge of a whole lot on the A side, but in a pretty tuck position. Had they gone out through door, they would have likely found him, but with low time, they're not going to have a whole lot of time to clear things out. Molotov to the heavens, and Kaze, I think a step made by Dobu, and so just honed in on his movement back into the bomb site. Cabal in a 1 versus 2 now, and if they ever needed a clutch to fall their way, this would be one of them.
I don't think that's happening, Michael. Not with that smoke down.
Yeah, maybe not.
It is actually quite shallow, so maybe there was a world where he could have strafed to the left and tried to peek out, but no. Not quite.
We knew Cabal was going to go for it. They were postured up for another buy regardless. You know, the start that they've had, obviously, on the CT side does have them at max loss bonus. So, always good to give it a shot in a situation like that. But yeah, the odds were stacked up against them already. 5 rounds already attained here by 5yclone. But it's not as though all of these rounds have been convincing. A lot of tricky shark-infested waters, or I guess mag-infested waters. But not a single shotgun here on the ATOX arsenal. So maybe this round will be cleaner than some of the ones we've seen before. Crazy to think that's really been the bane of some of these rounds. Their proficiency, their profound statements they're making by bringing the shotguns into the forefront of the action.
I don't know if profound is quite how I would characterize the swag 7, yes?
I refuse to call it the swag.
Profane, perhaps. But maybe not profane. Cabal, however, is probably uttering out some profanities as Mercury's taken over the lower bomb site. Yami will drop the bomb, however, and that is one that now needs to be collected on Yami. However, not ready for Mosea. Not this time.
Very slow, drawn-out round, and Mick a double kill. The fact that Jamyang was so low HP made that second kill that much easier. Swinging out further, Mosea dealt with, and now Kaze in a 1 versus 1. No information about where Coolest has gone off to, or even where he started this round out. It's the AWPers playing mind games against each other, and it's a late ascent here from Coolest that will catch Kaze completely off guard. A clutch that goes the way of ATOX. It's about damn time. They'll find their second round.
I think that's actually came through because of Yami. He's just savoring this. He's just savoring this. They don't get to win these very often. But I think a lot of that came down because of Yami's death over towards ramp, because Coolest has very often just been playing that ramp position. However, after Kaze goes for that initial spot out, he just doesn't really want to commit to it. He assumes that the ops of Coolest would probably be taking a separate angle, and that's why maybe the retake would be coming in from like secret to mini or something like it. But yeah, Coolest just gets to jump on him as a result of that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure, because Cabal's been mainly the guy playing at ramp, right? But they found that kill very quickly to the lower side, and it was about finding the sort of rotating player. You know, the fact that they had 2 players positioned already for a lower attack, and both didn't succeed. I mean, theoretically, Coolest could have been anywhere.
You're right. Cabal has been the player playing. I'm telling you, Michael, this hay fever is really, really doing a number.
It's just that season.
Yeah. Tech9s and they're getting okay. We're gonna pretend like that one didn't happen. The viewers don't know it, but I have been sneezing like crazy into everyone's ears over here, so my eyes are closed whenever that's happening as well.
Yeah, imagine trying to talk over that. I mean, you know, having to deal with a lot over here. It's a bombardment of gunfire and allergies alike. But full gun v gun rounds have actually proven to be maybe an immunodisability of ATOX. Again, another clutch that was needed. That's been the real difference maker on this map so far. All these slow drawn rounds here from 5yclone, and 40 seconds is all they'll have to make a decision.
Chamyang, thinking about it, he wasn't actually spotted over there. And Mercury takes point, takes contest, knows where the upper player is, but it's Mick to find the first. Mick can't get the second, not this time. Dobu's the one to find that. However, it is Mosea trying to proceed away with the bomb on his back. The scout is all he has. That's why they can't find the kill. Not yet, at least, but damage dealt at the very least. Mosea will end up falling.
I mean, great stuff there from Cabal. You know, fast on his rotate. Understood as soon as his players got crunched on from heaven. Even with the great patience there from Jamyang. The fact that Cabal was able to react so quickly, even with the SMG, just finding all that damage made the following fights that much simpler. High-low, but both of those players on basically a 1 bullet amount of HP, regardless of what gun it was. So it ends up becoming rather simple, but a pretty problematic spot to have found themselves in. You know, the fact that 5yclone were so quiet, so patient on that hit, and then Jamyang still found a timing in from heaven. That's gotta add some doubt to the way you're playing the CT side. There are some vulnerabilities that 5yclone have identified.
Mercury has to be careful while the player down below. Dobu. That would have been a death for the pre-deagle nerf. Thank God for that. A little addition to Counter-Strike. Oh! Tex on a plate. That's Jamyang's deagle.
Yeah, man. I mean, just the level we've seen from Coolest on his rifles and just Jamyang consistently. You know, it is a treat to watch. Real sharp shooting, but it's a bit of a weird game state. They do have a player that's made all the way through lobby, but there are still players positioned just outside of the door. Doesn't actually end up becoming a problem though. Mick sweeps up both those kills. $1,200 in his pocket, and has the option to upgrade moving forward, should you so choose. And maybe you should opt for it. This is another one of these full gun rounds from 5yclone. We've seen them do a lot of these slower takes, you know, hoping to sort of pick apart the ATOX default. They've been actually going with quite a few opening starts on the CT side that have been differing, whether it's been Yami sort of aggro pushing in through ramp and this double lower play, or whether they've been, you know, getting aggressive in through hut, has been somewhat hard to read as to what the CTs are up to. But Cyclone do decide to bombard a bit of utility over towards that A bomb site. The thing is, they're trapped behind a smoke, so they don't commit off of it.
They're going to be going through that Molotov. This grenade's going to be beautiful. And with that, Cabal follows up with spam damage as well. They're also weak, and Dobu wants to finish them one by one. Molotov is late, so Mosea won't be given that free access to ramp.
They'll never know about Yami.
Might not know about Mick either. Mick does peek out, keeps Yami low, and Yami on the other side's got a quick double. Only Mercury to finally shut him down. 1v2, and his HP is not conducive to it at all. Dobu pursuing, making it fast. Mercury knew where he could be, and as he does start to swing backwards, Coolest in his op is what he's maybe a bit more concerned about.
Yeah, very rough spot to be in, basically, in this 1 versus 2. No safe haven, no safe space. They made sure to keep tabs on him in that potential clutch. Didn't want to let another one of these fall away from them. Considering Cyclone got off to a pretty hot start as a result of some of those clutches they won, ATOX are right back into it. Now tying things up on the scoreline, we're looking at a sort of a 9-6 kind of disparity on this map for CTs. So they're doing their damnedest to get as close to that as possible. I think Cyclone have now lost so many rounds in a row, they sit on max loss bonus, so buys are going to be a plentiful.
There hasn't really been too much emphasis coming out from Cyclone so far for an outside play or anything like that either.
Yeah, aside from like maybe the first 4 rounds,
yeah.
I think that was really where we first saw it.
These past few, it's been very much, hey, let's go for a site hit, get a fast ramp up, or, you know what, just a straight upper side hit. Yami, though, let's collect out a quick kill with Mercury. Coolest as well, just helping out, giving information, and also finding kills where he can. Yami knows it's a 1v1 for him. At worst, even if it does actually ever come to contend, Kaz is still low, 20 HP, and spotted out from above the smoke.
I'm a little curious as to what the call was here from Cyclone. They had smokes for the cross, but they decided to not deploy them. Of course, the presence of Yami in secret, kind of exposing his hand as early as he did. Maybe that's why. But a little peculiar. It just felt like they were really, really hoping that ATOX were drawn to the fact that there's just been heavy lobby presence from a lot of these default rounds. Don't imagine that's a mistake they'll opt to repeat. In fact, they're just going to try and burst into A. Kills come out for the CTs, and that means that Cyclone are stopped in their tracks. Kaze doesn't want to try and take that risk, and even on his attempt to fall back, beats the op of Coolest. In fact, it seems like all CTs should stay alive here. Almost dropped top T roof, and Mosea won't even try for it. No casualties. ATOX looking much more rehearsed in the way that they're counteracting some of these rounds. The fact that they're going with these varying setups, and they're finding success off of it as well, does make it a lot more difficult now for Cyclone to come up with a solution. But this is a very reinforced buy now coming into round 13.
I mean, considering just how many of these rounds could have swung the other way out very, very easily, Cyclone might well be lucky to be on these 5. Mercury, though, great start to early on. Dobu's been taken down, and Cabal playing this close needs to be careful. He's thinking about maybe even just trying to set up for a late crunch, something like it, without Dobu here. He doesn't have that early backup, and they might know it on Cyclone. Mick is down as well. Mercury doing it all on his own right now.
Nice aggressive move here from Yami, and he sticks around as well. Cabal trailing through that ramp smoke, and Jamyoung legged, sure, but Coolest is there to take up spot in at ramp. It just constant aggression around the map. Yami ascending the ladder, and Kaze none the wiser to his antics. Thing is, the bomb is already making its way into one of these bomb sites, and there's no one really home to contest. These two AWPs of ATOX have to stand their ground best they can.
It's going to be a fireworks show down below. If you want to see Coolest come out on top, at least should be able to pick up the bomb, and it makes it look easy, even as Kaze was trying to fade away. Mercury still watching out for the slip up, and that slip up does now come true. Yami trying to go in for a flank, but he doesn't realize Mazea on the very late recommit will be able to find him.
Yeah, that's the 6th now here for 5yclone. A very hectic round, but the fact that Mercury was able to get so much room as a result of the instant smokes that they threw to get him some territory towards outside. Dobu tried to cheat ahead of those smokes, and he was that first casualty. But then once Mercury got that secondary kill, ATOX were in full reactionary mode. You know, they were trying to take extra room to compensate for the fact they were losing players around the map.
This time, though, is able to cheat over. Rather, there's no smoke to disable the AWP of Coolest, but at least Kaze can trade away. Jamyoung's move past this is a move he loves to go for, but he's lost his teammates and the bomb in the process. Needs to make this a beautiful round, because really, that's the only way you stop ATOX from just getting that 8th for free.
Well, this is very strange. I think Jamyoung anticipates that he was heard on his progress through to hell, and he wasn't, funnily enough, but he's reflanked back through to lobby. And he might actually find a kill onto Yami for free, given that his attention is drawn elsewhere. Yeah, simple stuff there from Jamyoung, but now gives away his position. Bomb still dropped outside of that red container, and he's trying to be as tricky as humanly possible, giving many different sound cues over. Is he high? Is he low? Spots one player, only a shoulder, but Jamyoung didn't register. And so it will be around here for ATOX. Another one of these, honestly, quite peculiar rounds, but they're really prioritizing having a player set up inside of Secret. And it's proving to be quite problematic for 5yclone, because they want to try and get across as fast as possible.
I mean, it's the combination of having a player in Secret and also just Yami being so ready to continually aggress into lobby again and again and again.
Yeah.
It's just two angles of assault that are coming through at the same time in a way they normally don't. It's a hard adjustment to make, and now Yami is making the adjustment of going back to ramp. There's already been a crossover, so he's dead already. The ball will try to trade, but it's trades all over the place. 5yclone in a 4 versus 3, and the CTs will be very late down under, so it should be set up for a 7th, but maybe Mick can do something about it.
Absolutely has to. Door opened and trying to commit to a double swing, but nobody actually goes through those doors to hunt down that trade. Gap in the smoke, though. Kaze keeps that man advantage here for 5yclone. Last round of the half, so has to be a commitment here from ATOX, and Dobu's still trying to slow creep his way down the ramp. Coolest is still very detached from the action, and he'll try and make his descent through vents. It is being somewhat watched out for via Kaze, but they've committed heavily to the bomb site after that bomb ticked down, and Dobu's still unsure about where these players are, only spotting one and never revealed the other. No success on the retake here for ATOX. It was a little bit trying at times, even though they found themselves in a 5-1 start. 5yclone do close it out at 8-7 instead. We'll see how they do in the second half after the break.
Cyclone managed to get to up to 7 despite ATOX honestly looking fairly dominant in a lot of these rounds. So many 1v1s actually managing to be, well, won by the Chinese side that it does end up being an 8-7 scoreline, but all is now forgotten. But CT side for Cyclone needs to show up.
Yeah, I mean, without those clutches, Cyclone would have likely had a pretty poor T side all in all. You know, we saw some nice adjustments from ATOX. We saw the way that Cyclone were trying to play out that T side by sort of expressing more patience than ATOX in these late round situations. But in the rounds where they played slow, ATOX didn't very frequently push. And in the rounds where they played fast, ATOX did. So just good reactions, understanding of what is sort of open territory. Clear that ATOX have some of those procedures well drilled in for this map. But all about how they fare in this second half, because we've seen a bit of a trend thus far past these two games between Linvision and Cyclone alike, two of the top teams within the region, that they've struggled closing.
Starting off now with a fast upper hit, Mercury, whoa, drop down with the dualies, and he keeps it going, no reload needed. That's the benefit of the 30 bullet mag. Yami, the only one to find any frags, and it is Cyclone to find that 8th equalizer. Nicely done.
Yeah, nice little whirlwind maneuver there from the dualies. That's one of those things you'd see in a Max Payne game. This guy's jumping off of different elevations and still hitting shots.
With 2 guns. Very Max Payne.
That is his signature move.
Might be people in here who haven't played Max Payne, like me.
Yeah, well, give it a little Google.
Is Max Payne the one with the grappling hook stuff? The really cool. No, that's Just Cause.
No, that's Just Cause. Yeah.
Oh, that was a great game. I really
not a lot of
enjoyed that.
story really, but just world exploring is.
Yeah, but
fun
I
on
can
that.
tie a helicopter to a car and watch them collide into each other. It's great. Kaze is chopping away, and you know what? Getting some verticality as well as floating about. Is this man a helicopter?
Oh, well, the rotors come off. At least I think that's on a helicopter. I don't know. Maybe that's where we'll take conversations. You know, that's the pun potential of Cyclone. A lot of wind-based things.
Oh. Well, we'll get there. First of all, I need to figure out whether it's an organization or just a cool name and a cool logo.
Yeah, that is fair as well. Or to know, they don't do a lot of publishing. I don't see no Facebook page, Cyclone Gaming. Where's the Twitter thread? I don't know. Well, first gun round here for ATOX in response to the second half. Them losing that pistol and the following round very convincingly is obviously not ideal, and Jamyang's already gotten the affair started off nice and well. Yeah, the fact that that bomb has not made the cross is a bit of a problem here for ATOX.
Dobu's gonna have to start to creep through, and Yami is here to try and actually help him across, but now with Kaze spotted out on the op as well, Dobu's never going to be feeling comfortable in actually moving forward. So what is the game plan? It has to be making Yami to make a play between them and Cabal. They can find some kills, force out some rotations. Yes, there's possibilities, but nice nade does go forward. Will be forcing them off, and there's still space for the double M's to continue to play through down under.
Yeah, this was always going to be the problem. No additional utility to force Kaze off of this line. And they've still maintained a lot of strong position on this A-bomb side. First kill found, though. Dobu making his move in through mini, and he finds the second as well. Suddenly turned into a 2 versus 3. Shot missed by Kaze around the edge of that smoke, but bomb's already been dialed in. Mosea, the only man that can really help alleviate that stress here for Kaze, but being down this man, they may even try and opt and save here. This is not great position to recontest.
I mean, considering how good this round looked like when it's starting off, even just in the 5 versus 4, it felt like the bomb would have no way of coming through, and then they don't find a kill with the boost down under, right? Everything is falling apart. It's a 5v3, but Dobu, what a play to creep through all the way.
Yeah, had that flash lined up as well from Secret to get at that first entry in through mini. So, making the best of a bad situation. ATOX find a solution where I think many would falter. They get their first round started here on this T side. We saw some of the struggles that they had on Ancient in terms of, you know, even getting around in the second half. So the fact they break the ice quite early is a promising sign. Still, they won't want to be in a similar game state starting in many of these T-side rounds. They came up with a lot of creative solutions on their CT side. They don't want to have to flex that muscle all the way through this map.
Yeah.
There's a whole other map to play potentially. Should they close here?
Mosea's playing this very, very annoying angle, but the problem for him is he is going to be completely bypassed. It made noise though. Jamyoung's bullets colliding should have been heard by Mosea as well, so the call of multiple players going down under is going to be made. What is the response here? Kaze is yet to rotate away from ramp. It's only Jamyoung to make his presence known.
And he'll do what many will if they are able to get down to the B-bomb site fast enough, is take the rafters position. Very problematic spot to have to clear out, especially when you're unsure whether or not there's even someone holding for this kind of a spot. Jamyoung doing his best to not expose himself too heavily to those control room windows, because they know that this bomb site is likely to see siege. Jamyoung 1 kill, and that AWP of Kaze missing out on the shot. Molotov dropped at his feet, and sure, that bomb is out in open territory, but they've got this 4-on-4 and they can punch in those digits.
They might even be looking to close out the distance with Kaze. Dobu's heard everyone coming over and he's very close. He needs to take the duel to them first. Mick covering off his back, and that's cute and all, but the problem is they missed shot or flashbang could just be enough, and you know what? No, none of those things will even be transpiring. Kaze not connecting on that op shot means that this round is already over. He was just caught in between so many angles, and it feels like there was a bit of a lack of communication between him and Jamyoung about what angle the latter was watching.
Well, nice little exit here from Mosea. I do agree. You know, it felt like Kaze was kind of caught between the idea of, as well, him even being flanked in from ramp. You know, he didn't have that backup to full clear that. He was still concerned about a potential timing because ATOX weren't quite making that move just yet. And then as he turned around, you know, that's when they decided to pounce. So he let his guard down a little bit, just concerned about getting backstabbed. But ATOX find the right time to pounce. So up to double digits now. 2 rounds back to back. 5yclone sure able to buy up once again, but it's only courtesy of the fact that they saved so many of those weapons over in the round just gone by. Seen a lot of retake attempts so far this series, but into the CT side for 5yclone, they know this is a long game they have to play.
This time Kaze is trying at the right angle. Will find the first one and immediately backs away. They are still so worried about this being an upper side hit. There is only Mercury available. Maybe he can be enough. No. Just a 1-for-1. Cabal still looking to late commit down in, and this is going to be so troublesome because Kaze might just be fully caught out over here. Cabal's been fully silent all the way. Free kill found. Kaze does get taken down by a slightly sloppy spray, but it's still a 3-on-3. Cabal is asking for rotations to maybe even come back, but before they're called, Mosea is down.
Bomb still yet to make its move over. And the longer Yami waits here, the more this can actually sort of blow up in their face. 50 seconds to make their decision, and, you know, with all its attention that Cabal has drawn, the fact that they've sort of bided their time into that lower bomb site, they just decide that they're going to plant on lower instead. So Cabal just running distraction, but 5yclone are at least anticipating this particular finish. They might be able to bypass Cabal as a problematic player. Yami clearing out towards ramp, and this could very quickly equalize things back to 2-on-2. He's low HP. Yeah, kill from Jamyang, and they've got a smoke available as well. They realize where Dobu is. Nade sailing over, and the tags are decent. The nade to finish off the job, so it has to be Cabal. A 4K lined up. These players are both weak. Cabal, that first kill comes in quick, but doesn't realize that Advent's round the side of the smoke. Now just spamming and not lined up on the right position. He sees the light, but he doesn't, and it takes him a long time to actually find that headshot. Advent almost sneaking that one away from him, but Cabal comes in with those 4 kills, and it comes in at a perfect time.
Man, it's just that the fact that 5yclone are so paranoid about any upper side presence, because they're just fast rotating away. They're not putting any presence down and lower early on outside of just Mercury and his Thomas. And despite all of that, Cabal is able to pull up the flank in a position like that. The first kill, sure, that's for free, but the second kill, beautiful, crisp, right as Mosea starting to reinvestigate back over to upper. And now just finishing off that 1v2, gorgeous stuff from him.
Clutches, clutches, clutches. Lucas delivered on many. And now finally shoots on the other foot. ATOX coming ahead with some important ones of their own. Pistols they have to deal with here in round 21, and no armor, no very few tricks that can be implemented here from 5yclone. Not even a flash to close the gap with these pistols. Just smokes to delay. That's the strategy at the very least.
Maybe the P250s can push through the smokes. There's a good stack going on over here. Decent damage on both Mick and Dobu, but doesn't seem like ATOX are going to be receiving too many casualties. Yami is on the hunt. Jamyang's Deagle, as gorgeous as it has been, will be given no opponents to really contest.
Yeah, as soon as Yami gets that kill, they just cut all ties to that B-bomb site, even though there were 3 committed lower. They just turn tail and make use of the open space that they've attained. So, well managed here from ATOX. Limited casualties. Good read. 5yclone not getting a whole lot out of these pistols. And
5yclone's always been a team that, you know, we've necessarily characterized a little bit more so to be, to be finding fruition over on the T side of Nuke, but here it just seems like they've lost that slight pizzazz that they did have in general, right? That their T side is characterized by so many clutches coming through shore, but now on the CT side, their rotations are a little bit late. They're not able to stop the trades from coming through even when they do get the opening pick on the CT side. It's just been some rough times.
Yeah, it feels like they're having a really hard time kind of reading ahead. You know, Advent's obviously struggling himself in terms of just the kills he's able to offer up. You know, as the in-game leader, sure, you cut that slack, and Advent's always going to have that slack with this roster, but we often talk about, you know, when in-game leaders aren't feeling it, it does reflect in their stats just as heavily. You'll be able to find all those kills inconsistency from game to game does help build that confidence. You reinforce the idea that your calls are correct from a first-hand point of view. Where the same cannot be said for ATOX. It's a very well-rounded ship.
Isaiah. A deep flashbang and a peek from behind it could be real nice. But Kabal's making noise and they are starting to get very worried. No flashes needed. Mosea just peeks forward. 3 kills. Found there, and then there's one better than what Dobu did in a crucial round. And now Mick, looking to hunt down Jamyang, will also need a swift demise.
See if Cabal finds any damage at the very least. He was the one throwing utility that was hoping to distract that presence towards outside. That's why they made the cross without smokes. He just didn't hesitate that. Mosea was already committed down and no damage done. It's a cute idea, but one of those calls that feels very heavy risk and reward. You know, if that had pulled the attention of a solitary man holding in from heaven towards outside, then potentially they get down to that lower bomb site for free, but Mosea's position was just too strong. And that was one they actually wielded themselves to great effect. We saw Yami get into that spot when they attempted a similar thing on the 5yclone side.
Yeah.
I haven't seen many aggro red peaks. No one's really deciding to go with that.
It does feel like that's generally also fallen out of favor a fair bit, right? So many people are just keeping an eye out for it. You know.
It does feel like an AWPers thing.
Yeah.
Kind of only. You get that kill.
And like Nico, yeah.
Yeah, and especially because the smokes we've been seeing on the cross have not been the sort of the more standardized two smokes to just get down towards secret. You know, that's where you can really exploit it, because as soon as that wall of smoke is up, you get that kill, you can actually use that smoke to allow you to fall back.
Early P from Kaze, and Mick has gone to it. No chance of dropping down early in, and that was of course a Tech 9. The only one that they didn't have a full rifle on was Mick, and that could have actually given Mosea a false sense of security. Yami spamming away with the AK. Equalizes swiftly.
Well, they do get access to the big garage. Garage? I know my English compatriots would hate me for saying garage.
Garagi, yes.
Yeah. Into the big garage. And, oh, in from up on T roof, just spotting the waste of Mercury. And that's more than enough. So a man advantage found just by expressing a bit of patience. They were even inside of the heavens, and Kaze is caught between a multitude of different angles. He has basically no way to escape, but he does deal with Coolest. A second kill found by Kaze, but there's a quick counter. Advent ascending the ladder right behind Cabal, and so he'll have him a sitting duck. Only Yami that remains. 2 kills to his name so far, and still 2 more heads to find. Bomb is still detached from him, though. That's outside.
And with how little time is actually left, Yami's going to have to start to get a move on with things very quickly. I love this angle from Advent. He's recognizing. All he needs is information about where this will... What? Yami. That could be it. That could be everything. He still has Jamyang to deal with on the upper bomb site, but he's not looking out for it. How does he... How does he get the first shot? Right there. Onto Advent. Oh, God. Disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lovely shot. At the same time, I'm pretty sure Advent just overstayed his welcome. You know, when you're on a crack angle like that, I'm fairly sure Yami passed by, saw the slither he needed to, and Advent stuck to his gun, stuck to his spot. And so that's just pre-aim. Yami will hit those.
Oh, my, he hits those all day.
Jesus.
He doesn't need to know you're there.
Just anticipates it.
Don't need to know how to read the music, Michael. Just hear it.
Feel it. Well, that's flashy stuff from the one upgraded pistol here from ATOX. The rest are on Glocks. So they may just serve as cannon fodder to create some room. This smoke, as it phases, Jamyang should be in for a pretty poor time. Should get overwhelmed. There are 4 players ready to burst, and he's positioned himself perfectly for this. They're dropping down, none the wiser, and Jamyang's relayed all that information over. Yami, the only man with that deagle, dealt with. Cabal switching out for it, and he does find a kill himself, but yeah, just not getting enough ground, not enough space on this B bomb site to really make much use of it. Bomb dropped out in the open, and only Glocks that remain.
Oh, listen, the damage is nice, but at the end of the day, it won't really come down to much. 12-12 equalization, 5yclone right back in it. This will be the big round, though. Both teams on a swing as far as their economy is concerned.
This is one of those spots where I feel like that timeout would go a long way for ATOX. They've been sort of calling them when they feel like a lead is slipping, or, you know, they are maybe anticipating something to change here from 5yclone, but they know this is a very important round. This could iron out some extra momentum here for 5yclone. Could be another close loss. Don't want to have it happen. Tag onto Mercury as he escapes the vents, but nothing too inconsequential. AWP of Kaze, though, has been shifting positions so frequently. Ain't no way Yami's anticipating that one.
Oh, Cameron, be careful about this one. That's a smoke down once you try and play around it. Use it as a bit of a one-way. And like if Cabal wants to keep on proceeding through, then Jamdag would have gotten that one for free if he'd not just continued to swing out. Even has one of his bullets blocked by the railing. 4 on 4. Kaze is down under, they know it. Well, being as low as he is means that he doesn't want to go for a solo exploration right now. There's very little room for error. Not that his HP would have mattered against the Mercury. Around the corner. Advent hoping to play distraction, but Advent might be late on this peak, and indeed he is. The flashbang timing is off, and Mercury's been given up. Mosea does manage to rotate through, but it's only him. Kaze nowhere nearby, and they know it. Mick low, Cabal lower. And Dobu, the only healthy player, trying to fake out that bomb plot as Kaze will be making his way over. Cabal has navigated right around him. Waits for that rotation, and he has completely outplayed him.
I'll try to do his best to outthink Mosea here, but made steps, so Mosea got the drop. But he's low HP, and no confirmation that these players are vulnerable themselves. Mosea opting to save. But let's not forget as well, when we did see, I can't remember which international tournament it was. When they were still under the banner of Rare Adam, they did go for a sneaky late round defuse, and Mosea is going for exactly that, jumping down, even Dobu dropping and having his knife drawn, but able to adjust in time. Mosea tried to be a complete fiend on that timing.
I think it was Pro League.
Just doesn't pan out.
I'm fairly sure
it probably was Pro
League.
League. Yeah, I think you're right. Well, they went for a super late flash, or actually it was like crazy retake utility, because I think they smoked off hut, then they dropped onto the bomb. This was in like the last 6-7 seconds of that bomb timer, and they pulled it off. The madmen. Didn't work here though. I said I wanted a timeout from ATOX, maybe even going into that round, but turns out it wasn't necessary. Their mid-round adjustments have been pretty solid. I mean, across what we've seen so far in ESL Challenger League. So mid-rounding is not really the qualm. It's about really dealing with these openers, because 5yclone have had many opening picks, like you were mentioning. They just haven't been able to maintain them very well.
Well, another one of those opening picks that 5yclone has found. 257s aren't the worst thing in the world, especially on a map like Nuke. Jam Young even gets a dink on Mick.
Yeah, it's not fair. That trade was quick as well, but it doesn't always work out that way. Yami's had some great shots, but he barely saw anything of Mosea. That was an angle that, especially when we saw the AUG in favor, was used all the time. With an M4 a little harder. Now a 2 versus 4, where this could shave off. Throwing things up here, 13-13, and Mick's already been found, so... Coolest, does he hard clear it? He is very conscious of the idea and does actually find the kill. So dropping down towards that lower bomb site. Mercury is already on the move, however.
Only down, and that'll mean Coolest can... Oh no, he doesn't actually tap it. He doesn't tap it. That takes too long. Coolest now will not be able to stop Mercury from just pushing straight through the Molotov and getting the defuse immediately afterwards, so the weaker buy will be able to actually move past. And ATOX, let's not forget, their economy has been somewhat rattled. The loss bonus wasn't as high as it could be either. You are now leading into territory where we've seen ATOX force buy in rounds like this, and I haven't liked it before. I really hope they call a timeout, discuss it over, go for a half buy at most, and go for a full buy later on, because Cyclone could run away with things otherwise. It would be very similar to what we had from Lin Vision yesterday.
Yeah, they are committing to that full buy. So it means that there will be no buy in the tank in the following round. That could open the door wide open to securing at least an overtime for Cyclone. See how it all pans out. Quick triple smoke to allow a cross towards Secret, but a Molotov to counteract. They haven't actually made their move alongside it. In fact, it might be a burst towards Mini instead. They're anticipating a bit of a reaction and over-rotate perhaps to the lower side. But now crossing into Secret. Mose is here once again. Another double kill from this spot, and a Molotov that will slow the roll in towards this lower site. Mick was leading, and he had the bomb now dropped at the feet of Mercury. Another 2-on-4.
Cabal's had tricky business, yes, but this time there's really no one to trade away with. Advent will fall, but with Cabal's position now given up, this round becomes a whole lot more difficult. Yami, I already knew where he was playing in from. It was information. There were two players down under just on the base of the footsteps. Mick was separated because the Molotov. 1-on-3. Cabal needs a full quad at this point. Otherwise, they might just be kissing their series goodbye for all we know. Crouch peek forward. Flashbang goes deep. But now with that comes out the swing. All three players here. Cabal's got none of them. 14-13 economy fully reset for ATOX, and their last bonus is also only at $2,900, so at least they will have money to go for one more buy, but don't know if they actually do end up going for that.
They let their guard drop. Just very little reaction to lower side attacks. The fact that there was a Molotov thrown as soon as the wall came up can sometimes be a bit of an indicator that there's actually no one cheated towards that lower side, but Cyclone just through all the standard sort of re-engagement utility, and it really blows up in the face of ATOX. Opening kill with the Deeg, and even catching Mercury off guard. Doesn't succeed in finding a following kill, and neither will the efforts of Coolest. Hey ho, 2-on-4s feel like we're seeing a bit of a trend. This is the third round straight. Looking like that 15 should be punched in. Yeah, Mercury, lovely shot, and the follow-up prep for Cabal. Even if it's him dealing with the first player in Kaze, it's not going to be enough to make that round anything close. 15 already found here by Cyclone. This is not looking good here for the Mongolians.
Just has to come down to finding some opening kills, right? You've had so many rounds where despite that you've managed to win them, but that can't be a consistent factor. Advent's been playing a very angle over towards the A-bomb side. He's recognized that, hey man, I don't need to push through. I know I'm chill. I just need to play this top hut and be A-okay. Nami spots out the feet of Mazaya. That's one advantage that the Diagnose Smokes will give you, I suppose. Not one that you see used too often. Kami's all alone as he goes for the cross. Mercury has heard it. And Kaze is ready and waiting. Yami! Ooh. Information found, but can't quite get that clean one tap.
Yeah, good restraint. Did what he had to do, at least in terms of showing presence, and now collapsing on this upper site. Coolest the entry, and Advent not trying to stick around for too long. Knows that he could get overwhelmed and swarmed. No teammates that are close enough to help. And so they'll be down a man, moving in for what could be a retake. Money's not exactly in the best of spots either here for Cyclone, so the fact they lose this site so quick, this could just be a call to save.
It's really strange to me how many times we've seen that Advent is almost in the bait spot rather than Mercury. And I know Mercury is the anchor player, and that's perfectly fine, but then Advent is just not in a place where he can actually buy time, where he can actually provide any support. He's playing for the rotate a lot faster than you'd expect him to be doing so. Mercury left all alone, and yeah, that A-bomb side is just free out for that. No one's hunting.
No. Certainly could have gone a long way if you're ATOX. You could have thrown a couple of weapons at it, perhaps. But this lasts for another half. Or last round of potentially regulation. It's going to see a full reinforced buy from 5yclone to try and counteract it. They pulled the wool over the eyes of 5yclone in that round. A lot of that is just due to the bait that they were able to pull the attention towards that lower side of the map and then just simultaneously hit the upper side. But how many more tricks are up the sleeves here of ATOX? Mercury just out in the open, once again just trying to challenge in case someone trails through the door.
Oh.
Heard a single take, but some damage has been done, so I don't know if there's a problem. There's no follow-up. We play on here in regulation. Has to be overtime if we're thinking about a third map. ATOX already trailing after losing their map pick in Ancient after they held an 11-4 lead. They held a lead as well coming into this half, but 5yclone have once again snatched that out from under them. About who comes out and who actually finishes things here and now. 50 seconds, and they're trying to wrap in towards the heavens. Right now, Mosaic is not going to have any information about it. The fact that they've closed the gap in towards the lockers, Yami, that kill could be everything. Presence now on these A-side players, and Mercury seeing a bit of siege towards the lower side. They've made up their minds. They're hitting A.
A is hitting back even after the deaths. Kaze still alive, and Molotov to make sure they can't just proceed straight in through to him. Mick swats him out though. And that is an instant death delivery system that is activated. Jam Young making his way over. A freebie found. Position for a second known, but he doesn't know Coolest is right behind him. Mercury now with positions where both players given up, but it's just too good of a crossfire. He can't disable it. And now Coolest swings out, gives him a chance. Mick is trying to run away. He's not got HP to contend with the M4 either. It's not like this is going to be a freebie at all. This smoke is going nowhere, and Mick is neither. That's just a round thrown away by ATOX. Another 16-14. You would not believe your eyes.
I can't. I watched it firsthand, and I can't believe that's happened. Another one of these close games. Another one where they hold a lead coming into these halves, and they just simply cannot get it done. They cannot cross that bar against some of these top teams, and they're putting them through their paces. They are certainly making these teams work. But it's another hard-fought loss for ATOX, and a hard-fought victory for 5yclone, who remain undefeated so far in the ESL Challenger League Asia Season 46.
Like, I've got to lend some more credibility towards what you were mentioning about early on, right? Like, that it's not just about, hey, who's fragging, who's not fragging. A lot of it does also come down to just the mentality. That mental broke down in that 2v1. I don't know what's going on. Their Coolest committing like that, turning that into 1v1s. Overtime was literally guaranteed at that point, right? You've got your two great entries onto the A-bomb side. You've broken through. Sure, Kaze gets a kill, but Mick's got a great trade as well. Then you've got Jam Young able to creep through. There's a player in heaven who's turned around. After that, you've got mistake after mistake being made. Coolest is just, swinging out. He's dead. 2 1v1s given up. And yeah, man, it's a sad state of affairs.
That's one of those rounds. I mean, that's one of those decisions that, if we look at Coolest in isolation, it could look like it's his mistake, but it could even just be Mick as well. They're trying to bounce the communication between each other. They're saying, are you ready to double swing? And it just didn't line up, actually, positionally, because I think Mick was even scared that because they knew exactly where Coolest was, if Mick got too close to Tetris, he could have been given a 1v1 as well. There's a number of different ways in which that breaks down. But yeah, it feels like communication, mentality is something that this team is certainly struggling with in these closer affairs, especially against these teams where they know they are the underdog coming into the series. It is still early days. It is still early in their journey, but that does find them in a position where they've had some pretty rough losses so far in this season of the ESL Challenger League. They currently sit, now 1-3, and quite a few of those games have been just dead close.
And considering that this team should be one of the big ones in contention for the overall playoffs and maybe even making like a dark horse run through the top 2 or something like it, yeah, it's definitely not something you want to see. But of course, if you want to see more of either one of these teams, or if you want to see Mongols or Lin Vision, all 4 of these teams are going to be playing from tomorrow onwards in the IM Sydney closed qualifiers as well. So make sure you guys are coming in and tuning in for those ones. In the meanwhile, there's more European action for ECL, not European, North American. Europe hasn't started yet. Your North American action for ECL in about 8 hours or so, something like that, something ridiculous. Just, you know, look it up, you'll find it out. And yeah, make sure you guys are tuning in for all of that fantastic CS. For now, though, we've got to be calling it a day. I've been Tea Time. He's been Michael Yumi Cassidy, and you've been watching the ESL Challenger League. See you guys next time.
nothing but the fading